Hello and welcome back to Crafted by Corie. If you're new, I'm Corie. Welcome to my channel. If you are returning, thank you as always for your support. I love you all. Let's go ahead and get right into the crafting because today is Minnie's Challenge Day.
DIY number one. I have these little bowls from the Dollar Tree as well as a mop head. I am going to just grab out one of these little bowls. So cute. I'll set the others away for another time. And I'm going to be using a lot of hot glue. I'm going to be calling this mop head yarn, for lack of a better term, because I don't know what else to call it. So as you can see, I put a good amount of hot glue at the bottom, and I am going to be wrapping this yarn around and around. I started at the center of the bowl, and I'm just going to keep making my way around. And this obviously is turned upside down when I started, so I'm just starting with the outside, wrapping it around the entire edge. So once I'd gotten all of the bottom done, I went ahead and started up the sides. Once I've got all of that done, I'm trying to figure out how I want to create my handle. So thinking, and then I grabbed this wire that is wrapped in paper. I got this on Amazon. It's in my Amazon store, and the link to that is in my description box if that's something you'd like to check out. But I am grabbing 3 lengths of the wire. I'm just kind of bending it at the ends where I want to have it end. And then I cut it off. I did trim each of the pieces, and I kind of wove them together in a loose braid, so to speak. And I'm gonna kind of give it some curvature and fit it inside my little bowl using some hot glue on both sides. And then once that's cool and set, I continued on with wrapping my yarn. So now I'm gonna wrap it around the handle. I was about halfway to the handle, so I finished getting to the handle, and I'm wrapping it around and around the handle all the way up and over until I get to the other side. Once I've done that, I'll go ahead and continue along with wrapping it around my bowl. Once I have the top edge all done, I'm going to start working my way inside the bowl because I want this completely covered with my yarn, inside and out. So down on the inside, again, a generous amount of glue. I'm just going to wrap it around and around until I make my way all the way into that little center. Once I'm almost there, I'm obviously using a little bit more hot glue, but I'll grab my scissors. I'm going to trim this off. And then I'm going to tuck that little end into the center where there's some hot glue and just kind of massage it until I get it to lay flat and all tucked in. Isn't it cute? I love this little basket. As I mentioned before, today is Minnie's Challenge Day. I am so excited to see what everyone has created. There is a link to the playlist in my description box. If you'd like to join us next time, the theme will be Anything Goes. DIY number 2. All right, I have a bunch of different kinds of yarn and my little eggs. I also have my sisal rope there, my narrow stuff, and I am starting out with just a little bit of hot glue. I kind of brought it up and then to the point, if that makes sense. So using more hot glue, I'm just going to wrap this around and around on itself. And I didn't start with just that little end because I didn't want the end to be sticking out or fraying or whatever else. And so you can see here that I'm kind of wrapping this around and over top of that end. So that's how I decided I was going to hide my starting point. And I'm going to use a little bit more hot glue, kind of just in some key places, and wrap and wrap and wrap all the way to the other point of my egg. Now, you want to make sure that your hot glue isn't too hot because it will melt these little foam eggs. You could also use plastic eggs. You could use whatever kind of eggs you want because clearly we are wrapping this completely and you're not going to see it anymore. So once I have it to the other end, I'm tucking that end in and just, again, I massaged it to get it to where I wanted it, and it was nice and secure, and that little end was hidden. So now I'm going to be doing the same thing with some of my other twines and my sisal rope. This one is one that I'd gotten from my friends at burlapfabric.com, and again, just wrapping and wrapping. And as I did this, I thought, you know what, this is so pretty with the variation in color. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to go back later and do something more with the pink. But I was still kind of thinking through what I was going to do on that one. But it did inspire me to double these up. Originally, I was planning on just doing everything solid colors, but I'm really happy that I didn't because I think that doubling the colors really gives it a little bit more interest. But you can do whatever you'd like. You do you. If you prefer the solid colors, go for it. My yarns weren't super bright in color, so they're a little bit more muted, so to speak. So I think the variation worked well. I didn't want to take my flame to this to burn off the little sisal strands, so that was why I was using my scissors there, because I wasn't sure what would happen if I had the flame near the purple yarn there. But here you can see I am taking my purple yarn again, and I'm just going to create a fun little stripe up and around my pink egg. So then for the next one, I decided to double up with my blue and my yellow. These are both yarn this time, and it's just the same process the entire time for all of these. My other egg, I did yellow and pink. And once I had them all done, you can make as many or as few as you want, but you can see them all there. And then I can just pop them into my little basket if I want, or I can lay them around on my tiered tray, whatever makes my heart happy at the moment. Let me know what you think. DIY number 3. All right, I have this little egg crate that I'd gotten at the Dollar Tree. It had gold eggs in it, I think, at one point. I've got a bunch of colored eggs I'm putting in there. I've got another of my little foam eggs and this microfiber cloth from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut off another section, and I'm wrapping my egg. I'm going to have the ends at the pointy part of the egg, if that makes sense. I grabbed a little rubber band. I thought about hot gluing this, and then I thought, you know what, let me just tie it off with a rubber band at the end. And so that was what I did. I figured that would make it as tight and secure as I would need without kind of gumming it up with the hot glue. So once I had that secured, I trimmed off the excess on that end, and then I can pop it into my little egg crate. Now I have some adhesive felt, self-adhesive felt, and I am drawing a kind of a quasi heart shape on the bottom there and just cutting that out. Once I have that done, I am going to take my pink felt and I am drawing some ovals and then some little circles, all of which I will also cut out and prepare to stick onto my little white upside down quasi heart shape. So I'm taking all these little pieces and I am arranging the little tiny circles around the base of those little bumps, which will be our little bunny toes. I debated doing just 3 on each, and if I had to do it over again, I might have just stuck with the 3, but I ended up putting 4 little toes on for each little paw. And once I had those in place, I then also put the little oval pads. I was thinking that was, in my mind, the way that a little bunny paw would look, but In hindsight, I probably would have done a slightly different shape. And it really didn't occur to me until I was editing this video and saw the way that it was looking, and I was like, you know what? I probably should have made it a circle or maybe more like a rounded triangle shape. But again, you do you. You make your little bunny paws the way you want them to look, and at any rate, this is how I had them. So then I put a little bit of hot glue on there. I have a pom-pom, my little white pom-pom sticking on there for the tail. And we got our little bunny butt. Just checking to see where I want to place it. And I'm going to peel away, not the entire backing, only about the first, not quite half. So wherever I decided I was going to adhere it, so just enough to be able to adhere it to my little bunny body there. And now I'm taking some very narrow ribbon. I think this is like an eighth of an inch. I think that's the size of it. But using the little holes in the egg, and I put it in through the outside and then popped it back up through the inside. And I'm going to tie just a regular tie your shoelaces bow, something very simple. I'm going to fuss with it here for a minute just to get it the way I want it and the size that I want it and all of that. And once I have it where I want it, I'll go ahead and I will trim off the ends and I can pop it into my little crate. I'll do that with all of them. And that's it for this project. Let me know what you think. And now it's time for a shout out timeout. Beautiful rose. I love this spring sign. I think it is so sweet. And speaking of sweet, so sweet, Julie. I love these. Thank you so much for sharing. If you would like a shout out as well, please send me an email at craftedbycorie@gmail.com. DIY number 4. All right, I have a box. It's a box from Amazon, and it is filled with all of these pre-painted little beads. Again, this can be found in my Amazon store. I just thought that these were awesome. The buffalo check, stole my heart as soon as I saw it. And I'm just taking some regular twine that I had in my stash because it was the thinnest without being thread. I needed something hardy, obviously, and the whitest thing that I had in my stash. But you could use yarn or whatever it is that you have that will work for this. And I am just creating a pattern with the white, gray, buffalo check, black. I've repeated that for as long as I decided I wanted it, and now I have a little bunny wooden cutout from the Dollar Tree. I am painting this with my silver lining chalk paint by Waverly, giving both sides a good coat except for the tail, which I am now going to paint with my Adirondack white once my gray was dry. Again, painting both sides of this, and then I'm going to set that aside to dry for a minute while I create a tassel. I am using that same mop head yarn again. I'm going to wrap it around my little cardboard piece several times. I think this piece is about 5 inches wide, I think. But you know what? You create your tassels to whatever dimension you would like. It doesn't have to be exactly what I'm doing. I find that depending on the size of the project, you want to make your tassels larger or smaller. This yarn is very, very thick, so there was that to take into consideration as well. So once I had that tied off at the top with another piece, I created a loop down there at the bottom, and I am going to wrap and wrap and wrap and secure it through that loop, pulling that up through. And I realized I had kind of done it a little bit differently than what I had intended, but it all works out in the end. I have not trimmed off the ends yet. I just decided it would be easier to work with it this way before I trimmed the ends. But at any rate, I'm going to go ahead and trim the ends now. Once those are all cut, I'm going to go ahead and fluff it, get all of the strings lined up, and then I'm going to go ahead, trim off that one end, and trim all of the bottom pieces. Just make sure everything is nice and even, and yeah. Nice and even. Once that is done, I decided to go ahead and wrap that other length around again. So I created another loop through which I could pull my end. Went ahead and wrapped that because I didn't want anything sticking out from the top. Tied that off so everything was nice and tight and not going to come undone. Set that aside for a minute and I'm back to my bunny. I'm going to create some little eyes for him, just making kind of some relatively large ovals for his eyes or her eyes. We don't know if this is a boy bunny or a girl bunny. Your bunny can be whatever you want. And then I'm taking some of my vintage Victorian chalk paint, and this is by Home Decor, and creating just the inside of our little bunny's ears. I did the same thing on both sides. Teeny bit of white to make our bunny look alive and happy, and set that aside to dry again. Now I have got my garland, the beads, on my needle still, so I'm tucking that through the top of the tassel, and then I'm going to tie that off. So just wrapping that around the top a couple of times, tying it, and then I'm going to take the needle and put it back up through the well, I guess I decided I was going to trim it first. So I'm going to rethread my needle, and I'm going to take that back up through the first 4 beads, because this is how I hide my end from having tied on the tassel. So just going to work my little needle out, trim off the end, and my end is hidden inside the beads. I tightened up my string on the with all the beads, and now I'm adding my little bunny to the end. I had just looped it, created a loop through there, and then took the end and put it through the loop and then just tightened everything up. Wrapping that around a few times, I'm going to tie that off as well. And once I have that tied just below the first bead, I know it's a little bit hard to see here with my fingers in the way, but I went ahead and rethreaded the needle, and I'm gonna hide it inside there again, trim off the string, and our little garland is done. Let me know what you think. DIY number 5. All right, I have a bunch of this floral wire from the Dollar Tree, as well as some more eggs. Lots of eggs today. I'm gonna pull out 6 of these little foam eggs, and then I'm gonna be taking some old skewers that I have in my stash that I use for painting. I'm just going to secure the bottom of the eggs with each of these skewers. This is temporary, just so that we can get our little eggs painted. This is crystalline. I think it's called crystalline. It's either crystal or crystalline chalk paint by either Waverly or Home Decor. I think this one is Waverly, but I set them aside to dry in my little floral foam, and now I am taking my wire and I'm wrapping it around, starting at a little below the fattest part of the egg, and wrapping it around and around towards the base. So it's going from wider to tighter, and then I'm going to flip it around and go from tighter up to wider, if that makes sense. And I'm using the pointier part of the egg to create this shape. So it's basically going to have larger circles at the top and bottom, and then it kind of cinches in a little bit in the middle. And I'm going to trim that off when I have it to the size that I want, and make sure my egg will sit in there. And I created a total of 6 of these. Now I've got my Sharpie paint marker in gold. Once my eggs were all dry, I came in and I drew my letters. Now you can hand letter these the way that I am doing. and just create whatever fun little font you want. I kept mine very simple. You could make it as embellished as you want. You could use stencils for these. You could use stickers for these. You do not have to hand letter it. You could use rub-on transfers for these. Whatever you have in your stash that you would like to use, you can use. So I went ahead and wrote out SPRING on each of my little eggs, and then I popped them into the little springs. So I have spring on springs, and I had been inspired by something that I had just seen briefly online. I thought it was super cute, but let me know what you think. And here we are with the final reveal of our tiered tray.
Okay, everybody, that's it for today. I hope that you enjoyed the minis. If you did, please remember to give me a big thumbs up and leave me a comment, because it really does help my video to get you noticed and helps my channel to grow. And remember, there is a complete playlist available in my description box. I hope you'll go and check out all of the fabulous crafters that participated in the minis challenge today. Let them know I sent you. And until the next time, be well, be kind, and make it a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Take good care. Bye.